Hello, welcome to the Crooked Paths. My name is Marcelo, and I'm here with my dear friend Prabhu. And we've been both meditating for some years, and today's topic is going to be about mindfulness. You know, how mindfulness is becoming quite a popular thing in the West recently. So, welcome Prabhu.
Thanks Marcelo, and looking forward to a nice discussion.
Yeah, great. And are you mindful right now?
I hope so.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you, you come from the East, you come from a great culture with a deep, rich tradition, and actually that's where meditation comes from. Mm-hmm. So, and you've been doing it since you were like a late teenager or early 20s?
High school.
High school, you just part of your cultural thing, and I think since I have loved being in India for so many years and I'm very close to that culture, I can really appreciate such a thing like that. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's been very beneficial to learn how to meditate, and it's improved my intelligence and, my general state of well-being, psychological well-being as well. But I wanted to ask you the question, what do you think about this whole thing with mindfulness? The word being such a so representative of a new movement in the West about mindfulness meditation.
Actually, so in the last group meditation session which we had within the Couchsurfing group, we also stumbled on the same question. And if you think about it slightly deeper, I think the connotation of meditation became a verb. So you want to do meditation. You want to say it became an activity, whereas mindfulness is not really. Mindfulness is not an activity. You don't sit and do mindfulness. Mindfulness is a state of mind, which is essentially much more closer to the ancient Eastern concept of what meditation or dhyana actually is. And in that sense, the whole move towards mindfulness, especially of course in the West sense, that's where I have been living for the last 8 years or so, is quite telling, because of the fact that in spite of being in a very developed part of the world where people have access to good healthcare, good jobs, clean air, clean water, people are supposed to be more happy, there is this urge towards mindfulness or meditation. I think primarily also because we realize at a very deep level inside, at a very, very, you can either call it very deep or you can call it at a very subtle level, one of those dualities, that we miss something. That we miss something while being in this very materialistic, very consumeristic, materialistic, very activity-driven world.
Yes.
You start, you do this, you do that. It's always a do. There's never a be. You're never yourself, unless and until that becomes an activity as well, like meditation.
Yeah. So don't just sit there, do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that mentality. Yeah, we've been programmed with it.
Yes, and even if you're sitting and doing nothing, let's label it. Let's call it meditation.
Yeah, right.
So this urge to make sense in a very intellectual way of the world we inhabit and ourselves is what actually I think drives people into something like mindfulness, which in essence is something to take them deeper inside themselves.
So, that brings up the point that in Buddhist psychology, the word meditation is not a verb, it's a noun.
Yes.
Representing a state of awareness that one is in, a state of being that one is in.
Yeah.
Instead of actually doing it.
Yeah.
Right. But wouldn't you say that at the beginning, some meditation is important to get into the habit of being able to become more mindful at every moment?
Oh, of course. It's. I would say it's a bit like any habit we pick up, until the point that we totally internalize the habit and it becomes part of our personality. We have to ensure that we spend time to understand what it is and so on. If you ask me what is 350 into 2, I would say 700. Not because I'm sitting and calculating and I'm so fast in calculating or anything. It's because the whole concept of mathematics is now so internalized because I spent 10 years in school studying mathematics. So I don't think dhyana or meditation is any different. Even martial arts, we know examples where Japanese samurai masters can slice a ball which is coming at them at 100 miles per hour.
Oh, you're talking about Stan Lee's Superhuman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that samurai who he sliced a little pellet.
Yes.
Like a quarter, like how big is that? Like 5 millimeters?
Yeah, 5 to 6 millimeters.
Traveling at 300 kilometers per hour towards him, and he just whips out his samurai sword and chops it in half.
Yeah, so based on...
Totally impossible.
Based on the photographic evidence which we have, they say that his hands should have started moving before the sound of the gun reached him.
Yeah.
For him to be able to slice that pellet. So that's muscle memory. Muscle memory, which is...
Muscle?
Muscle memory.
Oh, muscle
Muscular,
memory. Okay,
like,
yeah.
for example, muscular memory. So those should have been internalized by years of practice. Similar to mindfulness. So we need to take some time to spend with ourselves. We can call it meditation, you can call it mindfulness, you can call it new age, anything you want. As long as we actually spend that time until the point that we internalize this state of awareness.
Right. But with that samurai doing the impossible, you know, and it's a YouTube video. It's just like a 2.5 minute clip that you can find on Stan Lee's Superhumans Samurai.
Yeah.
You know, with he in the martial arts, there's a development of like a sixth sense that transcends time, it transcends space. And that guy being in the flow, very deep, with like in a no mind state, as Zen Buddhists say, he was in that state because the sound of the gun blowing, you know, shooting, the speed of the sound, right? If he had reacted normally, the bullet would have been way past him before he reacted.
Yeah,
you know, but it was something else. Like it's a super conscious awareness.
Yeah.
That the guy had, and then there was also that Stan Lee's Superhuman video of the Japanese Zen master who could put animals to sleep.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
From
yes.
a distance.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was astounding.
Using the chi energy.
Yes. Using prana, chi, the energy force that the ancients in China and India and Japan and those countries, Korea, that they said is all around us. We're swimming in an ocean of chi.
Yes.
Yeah. So well represented, like at the end of the movie, The Third Matrix. You know, when Neo is going towards the machine world. You know,
then he gets liberated. In a sense, he becomes everything that is there.
Yeah, yeah. But getting back to the whole thing about mindfulness, you were saying that so the Western ideal of like making money, having success with career, people are getting to a point where they realize that's kind of like not enough. There's still something missing in people's life. Yeah. So that's why they're moving towards the mindfulness movement. Yeah. But have you noticed that people are moving towards mindfulness as a form of relaxation?
I think like anything which attains a certain level of like being famous, for example, everything has a certain... So yoga becoming not just a spiritual activity, but also like a fitness activity. And similarly, mindfulness also becomes not just an awareness exercise, but also a relaxation. But at the end of the day, when we confuse, for example, a side result of something, a side effect of something, with the real impact of something, I am just afraid that it is like a guy who finds a pebble of gold and then runs back happy forever, considering the fact that he just missed that he was right on top of a big gold mine.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. I remember the meditation teacher that I went to with the first meditation retreat. He was describing how he had migraine headaches, and he went to this famous meditation teacher in Burma to...
you mean the Vipassana?
Yeah, Vipassana, Goenka was his name. and how he asked the meditation teacher that because he was a Hindu and he had all these problems, I'm going to go learn a Buddhist technique, and the teacher was like, he had a lot of resistance towards that, but the teacher was like, oh no, it's not about becoming a Buddhist. You're not going to be. You can still be a Hindu. It doesn't matter. You just focus on your inner awareness, cultivating your a state of heightened awareness, which is basically mindfulness. And he said, why do you want to do this? He's like, I want to do it because of my migraine headaches. I've gone all over the world to the best doctors in the world, and fortunately for me, they couldn't do anything. So someone suggested meditation, and that's why I'm here. And the teacher said, no, I'm not going to teach you meditation to get rid of your migraines. It's not about that. There's a deeper significance. And he's like, one of the benefits, the side effects of it is that your migraines will most likely go away. The migraines are psychosomatically induced. So Goenka went away and he thought about it. He's like, yeah, he's right. Okay, forget about the migraine headaches. And he goes back and he learns the meditation technique to go deeper into himself. And so what you're saying is that what is coming up also is that mindfulness is being sold as a relaxation technique.
Yeah. So can you imagine how much the world would have missed if, for example, the guru, like the Buddhist guru, for example, had just taught Goenka the technique as a relaxation technique, and if Goenka had just gone away, just happy and satisfied with himself that he lost his migraine, how much we would have lost as a civilization, because all those thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of people,
millions of people
who have been to Vipassana, there wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have become so famous. So in a way, I think we are assuming or we are underestimating the power of a normal person to be able to comprehend and understand some of these things. So of course, like in a modern world, we can't expect everyone to become deeply spiritual, give everything up, and then become sadhus or gurus. But I would assume at the end of the day, being brutally honest as well, where we say, okay, you might get stress reduction, you might lose your migraine, but that is not what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is something much more deeply spiritual.
Yeah.
And laying out all the cards on the table in front kind of ensures that you're both being honest as well as respecting the person on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Which I think is what is sometimes lacking in a very modern, very I'm going to use the word psychology in how Western medicine views psychology as something which is purely a bunch of chemicals in your brain which determines who you are. In that sense, Yeah,
it's very deterministic.
Very, very Newtonian physics-based way of looking at the world.
Linear thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Grid-wise, psychological grids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of my a friend that I've got, he's a psychologist, and he also is a meditator, and he's told me that there's these psychologists out there who are teaching people meditation under whatever name it is, and they're not meditators. I was astounded when he told me they're reading it from a pamphlet, from an instruction manual that they followed, that they got some instruction in. They haven't done meditation themselves that much, if at all. So it's almost on a similar level I was telling you before. It's like a person who learned how to drive on a computer game and reading some books about it, and then they go out and teach other people how to drive based on what they figured out with the computer game.
But it's actually not so surprising though, given the fact that modern society, and it's not just the East or the West, everywhere. Of course,
it's happening everywhere. You're saying? Okay.
The way in which education is taught, like a modern school-based education system, is essentially reading from books, regurgitating facts, opinions of other people from books, and then passing it off either as your own, and if you can modify it a little bit, get a PhD, and then assume that you are one of the pioneers of this field. So essentially it is looking at the world from how the world looks at using your five senses. You don't look at it through your sixth sense, which is first person experiential knowledge. What in India we used to call Adhyatma Vidya. Vidya is knowledge, and Adhyatma Vidya is first person experiential knowledge. You cannot teach something unless and until you experience it yourself, which is very lacking. So we go to psychologists who are themselves, sometimes, I'm not sure how many on antidepressants, maybe.
Oh, that's a dark secret in the field. Yes. Did you know that?
No.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yes, it's a dark secret. It's one of those dark things that they never discuss.
Okay.
The number of psychologists,
what is the secret?
that there are psychologists out there who are treating patients and stuff, but those psychologists themselves are actually on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's like going to a doctor who is himself on his deathbed and asking him to treat you for, I don't know, for a flu. How confident would you be on such a doctor?
Yeah, but the whole system is set up with that fake paradigm.
Exactly, yeah.
And people bowing down to the white lab coat of the doctor, of the psychiatrist, of the pharmaceutical industry, providing these medicines, these antidepressants that are, at
the end of the day, we should also know that not all of Western medicine is bad. It's just the fact that we pass it off as the holy grail, where everything which comes out of that is supposed to be good, which makes us into these, I don't know, into someone who just doesn't even question anything. Also, when it comes to psychology or psychiatry, like if you go through a breakup or if you have a loss in a family, taking antidepressants isn't going to nullify.
It only takes care of the symptoms.
It's not going to bring back someone you lost. You have to go deeper inside yourself and understand why you feel the way you do.
And you have to allow yourself to go through that grief.
Exactly.
There's a deep purpose through that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Considering the 4 or 5 years that we have been having meditation meetings in Copenhagen, I have lost count of the number of people who have come for meditation because they went through a period of emotional trauma.
Yes, true. That's right.
People who went through breakups or who were kicked off jobs and who were finding trouble getting a job, or who were in a new country, who didn't know anyone but who were getting depressed. Sadness is something which is to be embraced and accepted as much as happiness. But in modern society, and I'm continuing to use the word modern society because of course that's where we live.
Yeah.
Very ironically, happiness is very appreciated and sadness is deeply looked down upon.
Yeah.
But
you're not supposed to be ever sad.
It's very counterintuitive. You can't have one without the other. I'm sure Alan Watts could give a lecture for 5 hours on this one line that we only accept happiness but we cannot accept sadness.
Yeah. And hence you have a very, in the modern world you have a sense of superficiality with this whole passive consumerism, and people are kind of really not being honest with their feelings, I've noticed. So yeah, that's a consequence of, like, for example, not looking at death. For example, death is to face death and realize that one day you will die. It's a very important thing. So therefore, you don't waste time in the present moment. You don't feel like this sense of entitlement and stuff. You do what you need to do with things. To do whatever you need to do, whatever feels most natural in your flow state. For example,
I had almost exactly the same. I wouldn't really call it a revelation, but the feeling when I was out in a national park in north of Copenhagen, which is Dyrehaven, which you probably heard of.
Right.
And it's really beautiful in autumn. And autumn is probably the most beautiful season because the trees are all different colors, and it's like. But if you think about it, autumn is the end of the season. Autumn is where all the leaves die. They change color, they die, they become the ground again. And in my mind, I don't think there's any more beautiful to look at season among the 4. Because of course winter is barren and white and so on. And we don't really have this, at least especially in Copenhagen. I don't think I've even seen a casket being carried out, or a procession, or for
That's
a funeral.
True. I've never seen that.
I've never even seen.
And in India, when you're in India, you see that quite often.
Because death is not something which you want to live away from. Death is something which is part of society. So
part of life.
Part of life, yes.
And part of Indian society.
Yeah, and very, very much so.
And especially in a city like Varanasi.
Or like any city. You can take any city or town. You also have the holy cities where it's more obvious. But regardless of which city you are in, you could be in a big metropolitan city with like 15 million people, but you would still know when someone dies either in your street or somewhere, because they lay out the body for 1 or 2 days so people can come and pay their respects.
Yeah.
And then there is a funeral procession which takes them down to to wherever they want to cremate the body.
Yeah, and they go through town. They're walking through town with this dead body, and
then
you
they
see
immerse
it.
the ashes
Yeah.
into the river. So symbolically speaking, the ashes go into the ocean, just like the individual souls become part of the wider universe.
So in terms of mindfulness, getting back to the topic, mindfulness has to do with, a state of being totally aware of the present moment. And there's only one thing that gets in the way of not being aware of the present moment.
Is there only one thing?
Well, it has many guises, it looks like it's got many faces to it, but, it's one thing, it's a noisy mind.
Yeah.
Make the mind quiet, and then you suddenly have a broader experience of the now.
Yeah.
Which in all the ancient traditions it's all about the now. They just said only the now exists.
So, for example, I think maybe you have read the Ashtavakra Gita.
Yeah.
The one where the
little boy who had 8 broken limbs.
Yeah.
Ashta means 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
8 deformities.
8 deformities, right?
And then you remember the point where he gives self-realization to the king.
King Janaka.
Yes.
I just put that in. I just put in that in Crooked Paths last night.
Oh, okay. I haven't read that. That's fine.
Yes. Hysterical. You didn't see that?
No.
Okay. No. Because I put in a new section of meditations,
Uh-huh.
and I put in the meditations from the Insight Counseling website I've got,
Uh-huh.
and I put them in there, and also I put in the ego, that revolver ego scene that is so impressive, so profound. Just a minute and 42-second clip from the movie Revolver by Guy Ritchie. And I mentioned King Janaka, that when he woke up, you remember what he said.
Yeah. Which part are you referring to?
Well, King Janaka, when he woke up, meaning when he became enlightened, when he transcended his mind and ego, he suddenly said, "Now I know who the thief is who's been stealing my life from me."
Yeah.
I just put that in last night. What an incredible synchronicity. Crazy.
That's brilliant.
That's brilliant because
That's brilliant.
and I said that Revolver ego scene video clip refers exactly to what King Janaka was describing when he woke up. That it's the ego.
And it doesn't matter how long you meditate. It could just take 2 seconds, or it could take many years. But
50 years.
whenever you get that insight, it's
Boom.
Yeah, it's a revelation. And the reason why I mentioned it was because Ashtavakra, he says he can give self-realization to the king between the time it takes for him to put 1 foot in one stirrup of the horse and he swings over.
Yeah.
That's all the time that he needs to ensure that the king gets enlightened.
Right.
Yeah.
And when the king became awake and he was just stuck on the horse, all the attendants were like looking at the little boy, Ashtavakra, the super advanced, wise sage that he was, as a little boy with 8 broken limbs, his deformities. They looked at him, please let go of the king, because they saw that he had some effect on him, but it wasn't that. It was like the king had just finally found himself.
Yeah.
He transcended his ego, he found his true self, and from that point on, he was only in pure mindfulness at every single moment. Even when sleeping. Even when in a dream, he was aware that it's just a dream.
That's exactly. And that goes and it's funny because the name that I immediately come up with is Rama, who's another one of those. But it's funny because Rama ended up marrying Janaka's daughter, Sita.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It
So
was
Sita is the daughter of Ashtavakra. Sorry, not Ashtavakra. Janaka.
Janaka, King
And
Janaka.
at this point where Rama is lost in the forest searching for his wife.
Yeah.
And
because his wife had been kidnapped.
Yeah.
Look, many of the people listening to this won't know what we're talking about. But we're both. You're Indian, and I'm a closet Indian, of course. But and having done a lot of yoga meditation in India, I appreciate this deep wisdom from the ancient culture.
That you can be in a dream, but you still know that you're in a dream.
Yes. He was in the dream, knew he was a dream, but he was still acting out his role.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. When Shiva's wife. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But anyways, I wanted to bring up something talking about mindfulness. And there's an incident, Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna was this Indian saint in the mid-1800s in Calcutta. right? I mean, you know a lot about
of course.
Ramakrishna, but I'm just describing it for the audience. And Ramakrishna was this very interesting priest of this temple. It was a Kali. It's one of the goddesses in the Hindu pantheon. She is like the destroyer of egos, Kali. And so in this, what happened was that Ramakrishna was this. He went to school when he was a boy, and when his parents sent him to school, you know. And the first day of school, after just a few days of school, he realized. He said, "No, I don't want any of this. This is just an education just for making money. I have no interest in that." You know about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next thing that happened was Ramakrishna is walking by these two pundits. The word pundit comes from India. So there's these two Brahmin priestly class, very learned people. So these, so these two pundits were having a philosophical discussion from the ancient texts, and they were stuck on a point. They couldn't get past the point. And so little Ramakrishna, he's only like an 8-year-old boy. He walks by them. He hears how they're stuck. He's just listening to their conversation. And he said, "Oh no, the solution is so simple. It's this and this and this and that. It's this." And these two guys were astounded that this little boy was so okay. So that's Ramakrishna. So Ramakrishna becomes the head monk, the head priest of this Kali temple. It's called Dakshineswar. You could go. I visited it twice already.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's a special place, especially when you know the history of Ramakrishna. And so it was built. Do you know who built the temple?
It was a local queen.
No. It was a low caste woman.
Okay.
Who was super rich.
Oh, okay.
Really brilliant with business, with her husband. Super, super rich. So they created a temple, the Dakshineswar temple, but because they were low caste, they couldn't get priests and anything like that. The whole prejudice thing, right? With the caste system. So someone told her about Ramakrishna, this young priest in this little village. It was Ramakrishna's older brother, who was school teacher of a sort and a priest as well. So she's like, okay, so she brings over she tests him out, Ramakrishna, and he comes and she likes him right away. Obviously, he's the choice head priest. So one day, do you know the story about how he was doing the puja? And a puja is a religious ceremony in Hinduism where, how would you describe a puja?
A puja is an offering.
An offering to the gods.
Yes.
So and you do it with respect, and you offer foods and things like that. So Ramakrishna is doing an offering, a puja to Kali, the goddess, the mother, the destroyer of egos, and he's doing this puja to her. But the rich lady who built the temple, she was sitting at the very back. She's just sitting back there. And so Ramakrishna is doing the puja, and do you know what happens next? He suddenly, the guy was like psychic. He was like a super psychic. He realizes that there's someone in the room who's not paying attention to the puja, because mindfulness. We're talking about mindfulness. The person, when you're doing a puja, you're supposed to be there, completely.
100%.
100%. Like the Muslims, when they meditate 5 times a day to Allah, they are supposed to be there. They're not doing business when they're praying. Like the Jews, when they get together, like Orthodox Jews, and at least 10 people have to be in prayer to God. They're there. Even if a few of them are atheists in their group, they don't care. They have to be there present. Okay, so it's how it is, right? Yeah. So Ramakrishna's like, he notices that someone is not there. And he turns around and he realizes it's the lady who built the super rich lady who built the whole temple that is employing him as the head priest. He goes up to the lady and he just slaps her a few times.
Okay.
Do you know this story?
No, I don't know this
He
story.
slapped her a few times, okay? And her bodyguards, they jump to attention. They're ready to pull out their sword to cut him into pieces, because that's their job.
Yeah.
And she holds him off.
Yeah.
And Ramakrishna tells her, you were thinking about business, about selling a prized horse of yours, weren't you?
Yeah.
And she gulped and she's like, yeah, I was. How did you know?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're supposed to be here doing a puja to Kali.
Yeah.
Be respectful.
Yeah.
Please. Otherwise, get out of here.
Yeah.
He told his benefactor that. He told her off. And so he goes back and continues the puja, and she was stunned, but she put her business aside and she was focusing, and she really was quite moved.
Yeah.
I mean, she had the wisdom
to understand
that she didn't have a gigantic ego to understand the significance of what he did. His lesson towards her about mindfulness.
Yeah.
You know?
Being where you are supposed to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right here, right now.
Yeah.
Like you and I, we're right here, right now.
Yeah.
You know, and you're sitting in the sofa, I'm sitting in this chair, and even though someone else will be listening to this in the future, they're listening to it, you are listening to this right now.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, right now. That's the key of mindfulness. Yeah. You've never heard that story before, huh?
No, I've not heard that story.
I've
never been to Dakshineshwar either.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think
I felt pretty honored being there. And he's one of my heroes, you know.
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to bring up was I'm reading a book about shamans. It's a book that was written in 1980 called The Way of the Shaman. And the author is like Michael Harner. And he was describing his times with these shamans. And and modern science, modern psychology, psychiatry, they dismiss the things of the shamans as primitive, superstitions, backwatered stuff, you know? They just brush it off. It's, that's true, right?
Of course.
And so he was saying, though, because his experiences when he got initiated into the shaman way by this society that he was studying in the Amazon, and he realized they were so full of wisdom, and his studies, with shamanism, showing that the most incredible thing, all these shaman societies from all over the world, they're basically converging on the same ideas.
Which
is there's much more to this world than we realize. And there's only the present moment. And everything is alive. That's the shaman thing. And the shaman tradition is thousands upon thousands, if not more than 10,000 years of age. From these, you have the shaman tradition in the Aborigines in Australia, and those it's been scientifically shown that the Aborigines in Australia have been there at least 60,000 years as a culture. With their deep learning and their deep cultural awareness. So the shaman tradition is, you can even say, it's like 60,000 years old, and they're all in the same direction, agreeing on that kind of implies that they're right about something. Whereas in modern psychology, modern psychology is only like 120, 130 years old, maybe, and William James was one of the first psychologists I remember, and he was very intelligent, very wise, and very open. But Freud, complications with Freud, he was stuck, for the Victorian age, Victorian England. But anyways, all these different psychology schools, and I was listening to an interview with Stanislav Grof, the transpersonal psychology founder. And he did experiments with LSD before LSD became illegal. And I've mentioned this before. Remember that he was studying psychoanalysis and he loved Freud's theories, but then when he put them into practice after going to medical school, he's like, oh my God,
it failed.
They didn't work at all.
Yeah.
A miserable failure. And then at that time, he'd been being a psychoanalyst for 7 years, and LSD was just synthesized in Sandoz laboratories in Switzerland, and they were sending out these packages of LSD to different psych labs around the world to test it out. And so he tested out, and in one session, a person became, got through their troubles that they had been in psychoanalysis for 10 years or whatever, in one session. Yeah. So he wanted to be a part of that, but then it became illegal, and he was talking about how with the LSD is non-ordinary states of consciousness. That's where the real healing starts, and that's what mindfulness inculcates. That's what is cultivated with mindfulness, coming into a non-ordinary state of awareness in the present moment in our daily lives at every moment.
Yeah. So I think like Graham Hancock mentions that in a way we do like our mind-altering substances, like coffee or chocolate,
Sugar.
sugars, like things which give us a high in terms of our normal problem solving capability, which can help us make more money, which can help us be more aware, but on a productivity level, and all this. But of course, we are very reticent towards even considering other mind-altering substances which take us beyond the normal problem-solving ability, like for example LSD or and so on.
Yeah, magic mushrooms,
Yeah.
iboga,
Yeah,
ayahuasca. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right, which have been made very illegal in many countries.
Like things with DMT, like specifically. Yeah.
Right, the spirit molecule.
Yeah.
That we have naturally in our brains already.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the main ingredient in ayahuasca, by the way.
Yes.
For anyone, there's a book by Richard Strassner, I think, called the DMT molecule, the spirit molecule, DMT, the spirit molecule.
Okay, I think I should put it on my to-do list.
Oh, I thought I was sure you'd read it.
No,
yeah,
I haven't read it.
And he got permission to do experiments with DMT, smoked and injected, so it went straight into the brain.
So where was he from?
American, I think, psychologist or whatever, and he got permission to do, for the first time in America in a long time, to do any experiments with hallucinogens, but he noticed though, after incredible epiphanies that people had when under DMT, and insights that they got, that it wasn't enough for them to change their lives. At the end of all his studies and everything, he didn't see anyone change their life dramatically. Like you do when you see people who go deep into meditation and suddenly they change their lives dramatically. I mean, you've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I also posted this small talk where there's someone asks a famous guru about how to deal with ayahuasca and whether it is good to be addicted and so on. And then he also talks about the fact that it can give you a peek into what reality is.
A glimpse.
But a glimpse.
Yeah.
But it cannot become a crutch that you use to walk for the rest of your life, because it can show you, but at the end of the day, you have to go deeper inside yourself without any of these accessories.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's like this famous guru from the Trinidad and Tobago.
The what?
From Trinidad and Tobago, like from the Caribbean. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Okay.
No. Ah. Well. Yeah. So getting back to the mindfulness, have you speaking from your personal experiences, have you gotten into, because you've been meditating for some years now, and in the last 4 years, you really, it was some life situation that moved you towards more of a focus on meditation. And have you applied it to your life and daily situation with your job and other things?
I think it was not really a conscious choice, because subconsciously it's like this stream of contentment which runs through you if you meditate for a while, and it is bound to affect your normal behavior in everyday situations. But of course,
how has it affected you in daily situations, for example?
So, for example, I can take broader examples as to professional life. So, in that case, I would say I'm much less reactive to people, and I do not really. I have taken, I would say, a level of ego out of both myself and the person who is sitting opposite me or who is in the same room and so on, where I've removed the people, but in a very professional setting, we talk about ideas, we talk about implementation and all of this, which helps in ensuring that things don't get too emotional, for example. Or it leads to a better way in which you can agree with people, where you say, oh, you like this, I like this, let's put this two together, compared to, oh, you like this, I don't, where the you and the I are more important than what we like.
Ego reactivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So like it's helped you to put your ego, diminishing it,
Yeah.
But you still get pissed off.
Like everyone does.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah. But then I can stomach it more easily.
Yeah.
At least I hope so. I have to ask my colleagues then.
And have you like applied it to like when you're walking on the street or when you're eating a meal? Have you consciously applied it in those circumstances as well?
I have. Eating a meal, I must admit, not so much. But for example, walking on the street, wherever there is motion, I feel more aware and alive than before. So, for example, when I'm walking down the street, when I get out of home, the feeling of fresh air and being aware of the whole breathing motion, it kind of opens up your whole day.
Yeah. So you're trying to be like very aware of everything that's going on in your body while you're walking outside.
I'm just being very aware of everything, whatever comes to my focus, or defocus, if you want to call it that.
But what if you notice, like, if you're walking and you're feeling that fresh air in your, it's winter now, so you're feeling that cold air in your face, and you see the golden leaves of the trees about to fall off. What if, like, suddenly you start thinking? Do you catch yourself if you're thinking about something with business?
All the time.
And what do you do? I think this is a key thing. What do you do when you catch it?
I think when I catch it, I revert back to either the feeling of the process of breathing, because when you are thinking about work, it is a thought, and when you think about the fact that you're breathing, another thought replaces. So there is a thought being replaced by another thought, where the second thought replacing the one is more immediate, it's more current, it's more present. So the fact that, now I'm starting to think about how I breathe is a thought which is grounded in reality right now.
Okay.
Which is more closer to your awareness compared to me thinking about what I'm going to say at the 9:30 meeting between me and whoever is going to be there at the meeting.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best things which has happened over the last month or so is the fact that I lost my headphones. I have been so tempted to replace them, but at a certain level, I think I'm, in a way, quite happy that I do not have these distractions.
The headphones for your smartphone.
Exactly,
okay.
Where I can just listen to music when I'm on the train or when I'm walking. But now I don't have, my hands reach to my pocket, or they used to at least, to pull up my headphones and then listen to whatever song is supposed to amplify the mood that I am feeling at that point of time. But now I don't have that crutch anymore. And it is, in a way, strangely very liberating, I must say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Although I must say I replaced listening to music with just staring at my smartphone for half the time. But I'm getting there.
You're getting there. Baby steps. Baby steps. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to say about mindfulness, like in today's world, and to anyone who's listening who maybe hasn't meditated that much or hasn't meditated at all and they're curious about this? Is there anything you want to say to, like, spark a fire in them, hopefully?
I must say, depending on who you talk to, meditation could either be this supremely liberating, super spiritual, one pill to solve all your world problems. Or on the other sense, it could be one of these activities you can do, you cannot not do, you might do, which might help you. But I think the reality is somewhere in between.
Okay.
Mindfulness or meditation is something which will give you, of course, some benefits in the short term. You might feel a little bit more content. You might scream at your wife a little bit less now, or your kids a little bit less now, or your husband. But the longer term impact is something which we will only notice as time goes. It's not something where you need to just blindly put your trust because a few people write about it and talk about it. But it's something which you will know only when you practice. So I would say, for someone who is either a novice or someone who has just started doing it, do a 21-day challenge. Do meditation 21 days on a stretch. It could be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but as long as you do it at a stretch for 21 days, and I'm sure and I hope it would affect you, then you would know what everyone else is talking about. Instead of doing a modern day, I read this article, this article states meditation is this, that article states it's not that,
Yeah.
So instead of getting it all through into a head through like TV and social media,
book knowledge, and
we should practice it.
Yeah.
That's probably the only thing that I think is significant enough to say.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, because recently I put down about how the Buddha, 2,600 years ago, he said that such intellectual ponderings and all this thinking about things, it ends up being useless. That it's at the same level of like virgins talking about sex, right? Right? Exactly. So yeah, it's and I think perhaps do you want to say something about how, because there's so many meditation techniques out there.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something about that and regarding mindfulness? You know,
I think it is just like education. There's once you go to school, there are so many subjects that you can learn. You can learn physics, chemistry, history, geography, psychology, maths, language, arts, culture. But at the end of the day, after 15 years of school, you choose one of those and then you try to specialize, because that's what's going to help you feel like you're adding, you're contributing, you're gaining from it, and so on. Meditation is a bit like that. There are multiple schools, so maybe either you try something, if it even fits you a little bit, you should just go deeper. If it works, it's great. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine that you don't feel natural, that you want to do something in a different way. It's similar to saying, I do not like physics, but I love chemistry, so I want to be a chemist and I don't want to be a physicist. That's fine. But as long as you are in the school, you're still gaining something out of the whole thing.
Okay, so are you saying like once you find one meditation technique that you like, go deep with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Instead of dabbling around in 50 different schools.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like skimming the surface and not diving into the water.
Right. Funnily enough, Ramakrishna, he had said, if you're digging a well for water, it doesn't help if you dig a well here for 10 feet and over there for another 10 feet and over there for 10 feet. He's like, dig one well, go down 100 feet.
Yeah.
Go deep.
You're bound to strike water.
Yeah, you're bound to strike water.
Yeah.
So, and just to mention to the listener, I have some free guided meditations that are about, they're very simple and universal on the website. This Crooked Paths website and also the Insight Counseling website. But Prabhu, another topic that I want to bring up with you is that I've noticed, and you've been living outside of India for how many years now?
I think 8 years.
8 years, and you're a very mature person, and you're very open-minded, and you've gone through your trials in your life, and like you said, meditation was you were brought to wanting to experience meditation more deeply because of something that happened to you, so which in retrospect it's a good thing, when you think in the broader context. And something I've noticed, and I'm sure you've seen this too, I've seen that people in the modern world, there's such an emphasis on career, on business smarts, and all these things like getting an MBA and getting your qualifications to work for some top pharmaceutical or shipping company in Denmark, I'm talking about, but software company or whatever, technology company. But I've noticed that there's a lack of emotional intelligence that is the case with people who have been so obsessed on focusing on their careers, which is a necessity in today's.
So when you say emotional intelligence, what do you actually refer to?
Like I've seen how people who are like really business smart, but they lack maturity, emotional maturity, like in terms of being conscientious of others, in terms of not bad-mouthing others, in terms of being nice to themselves, in terms of looking for a deeper meaning to one's life, in terms of realizing that there's that if you become this super millionaire, multi-millionaire, billionaire, and you've got like a gigantic mansion with 10 super sports cars and Rolls Royce and Bentleys and all these cars, that is sort of like, that's kind of superficial. There's a deeper significance to life that has to do with becoming a wiser, more grounded person, grounded in a humble way within oneself. So that's what I mean by emotional intelligence.
Okay.
It's like lacking in this Western education that's mostly focused on becoming a productive member of society in terms of living your life and being part of a company or whatever, creating your own company and making lots of money, and how there are people who are very rich are idolized in the mass media, for example. So have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I have, but I must say that if you look at it, it is a byproduct of what society values the most. So when we as a society, when you want to invest your money, you invest in a fund, you invest in a hedge fund, which says, I'm going to give you 8% return on investment every quarter. The modern society runs on a quarterly basis. We don't run by weeks or months or by year. It's every quarter. Are you able to deliver a profit every quarter? Now, when we have this very short-term myopic view, we want people to implement. We want people to walk the talk right now. We don't have time to wait for 3 months until they get to know the business and then say, oh, maybe this might not make sense, maybe this might... No, we don't have time. We want to do things as early as possible. And one of the sad byproducts of this kind of culture is the fact that we do not have time for emotional connect. If someone is not capable of doing it, if someone is getting a stress leave, you might as well go take a stress leave and come back after 6 months. But I'm not going to let you work lesser than what you're capable of. I'm not going to give you time off while you're at work. You can take time off completely where we're going to replace you with someone else. But you don't have the flexibility of saying, oh, maybe let's try to talk about it. Let's maybe extend this project by twice the amount of time and so on. So, of course, in a way, this society also ensures that we promote implementers, not the ones who are the connectors. So this is, I would say, quite common.
Okay. And while you're talking, I got a mental image of Dilbert, that cartoon strip with that, and the guy was talking
Douglas
about...
Adams?
Is that his name? Dilbert?
Oh, yeah, not Douglas Adams. It's,
not Hitchhiker's
Yeah,
Guide.
no. I don't know the name of the...
Dilbert is a cartoon strip, and it's like these ridiculous situations at the workplace, and then, in corporations, and how the people... He said he saw that the people with, like, no talent were the ones who were being promoted.
Yeah.
Constantly. The ones who were not... who were sort of lacking people skills, for example, were just getting promoted. And, so he noticed that quite often.
But I mean, it just goes back to what we were just talking about. There are these hilarious cases where, you get the most... like the pharma guy in the US. Like
Pharma?
This guy who was called the pharma bro. Like this guy who increased the prices of drugs by, 5,000%. He's only 32 years old. And yeah, I think he became quite famous last year.
Okay.
Where he increased a very essential drug by 5,000% because he thought that was the best way in which to make money, regardless of the fact that the drug saved so many lives every day and so on.
And so what happened as a result? People were dying because they couldn't afford it?
Yeah, it became a big media furor.
Oh, I never even heard of it. Yeah.
Oh, and I think it was Scott Adams, not Douglas Adams, the founder of Dilbert.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, the Pharma Bro was completely different. It's probably a very good example of what
someone moving up the ranks of a company and lacking emotional intelligence.
Yeah, he was a big hedge fund trader who stumbled on a lot of money. I think his name is Martin Shkreli. Okay. That's his name. Stumbled on a lot of money. He took over a pharma company which was big in selling this one specific kind of drug, and then he just jacked up the price like crazy, and it kicked up a lot of furor.
Wow. So regarding mindfulness, right here, right now, can you feel your foot touching the ground?
Yes.
Your body? One of them. Me too, one of them. Can you feel the sensations in your legs?
Yes.
From your toes up to your hips, and up your torso. And you can feel your palms, and your arms, and your head, and your face. And whatever we're doing, right now we're talking on a podcast, but whatever we're doing, just focusing on those sensations, they're happening right here, right now. That's an entryway to being very mindful, very present in the now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here we are, in the now. And I hope whoever's listening to this, I hope you're also right here, right now, and you could take a deep breath and look around you, see where you are, and really feel the aliveness of this body of yours, feel the incredibleness of it, 50 trillion cells working harmoniously as one, and just being right here in the present. Is that enough?
I would think so.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
And goodbye.